Today we're making the perfect Tequila Negroni cocktail. It's called the Rosita, and it's officially a perfect cocktail. We'll get into what that means, plus check out the murky history of what is now considered a modern classic cocktail. The legendary Gary Regan put his finger on and probably in this interesting tequila cocktail, and you'll see me try to do the same, but I'll be using the classic bar spoon. Will I be able to make it better?
It's cocktail time.
Let's start by making the classic Rosita cocktail, with one small change. I'll be using a Rosa tequila, which was rested in wine barrels. We'll talk more about this later, but the first cocktail I thought of when I saw Rosa tequila was the Rosita. You'll also need Campari, sweet and dry vermouth, Angostura bitters, and I'm adding saline solution as well. I always like to start with a chilled mixing glass for stirred cocktails. The rocks glass is also ready, with a clear ice block already tempering, so it doesn't crack when we pour the cocktail over it. As for the ingredients, I'm going with the tequila first. As mentioned, it's Rosa tequila from Código. We need 1.5 ounce or 45 ml. Next, half an ounce or 15 ml of Campari. This will give us the bitter backbone. Follow that with the same amount of sweet vermouth for body and depth. Then balance it with half an ounce of dry vermouth. This pairing is what makes it a perfect style cocktail. Add a dash of Angostura bitters, or 2 if you're using these precise dasher bottles. Lastly, as we always do, 2 drops of 20% saline solution. The salt enhances the flavors in your cocktails. Plus, we all know how well salt pairs with tequila. Fill the mixing glass with plenty of ice and stir to mix, chill, and dilute the cocktail to the right balance. Now strain it into the rocks glass over the clear ice block. For garnish, you can go with either lemon or grapefruit peels, but lemon is the more traditional option. Express the essential oils over the top of the drink and place it on the ice. And that's the Rosita, ready to be enjoyed, as we talk about its history. Bright citrus aroma from the lemon, then a nice and rich combination of bitter, sweet and dry hits your palate. The Rosa tequila brings soft agave with a delicate touch of red fruit. It's like the Negroni and Boulevardier went to Mexico and found their long-lost cousin. If you like them, you like this one too. Plus, it's perfect. As mentioned, those are the cocktails that have equal parts sweet and dry vermouth. The most famous is probably the Perfect Martini, but you can also try the Perfect Manhattan, the Perfect Boulevardier, or the Perfect Negroni, to name just the most famous examples. If you don't have much of a sweet tooth, they'll really be perfect for you. And when you'll be pouring that dry vermouth, you might think to yourself, the only way this could be better is if I was wearing vermouth on me, and now that's possible. Thanks to the hottest new merch for Broken Bartender and Cocktail Time. Tie and pocket square combo with vermouth botanicals, Cocktail Time pins, and even mustache socks. Grab yours through the link in the description, and up your style, not just your cocktails. But before we upgrade this cocktail, let's see at how we got to this point. The Rosita first appeared in printback in 1974 in Mr. Boston Official Bartender's Guide. The first edition of that guide came out in 1935, and according to Wikipedia, it was once used on nearly every bar shelf in the United States. The 1988 edition had the Rosita recipe as well, and it's probably there that Gary Gaz Regan first found it. Gary was one of the most influential bartenders and writers of his time, known for bringing forgotten classics back to life and often making them better. So when he saw what was basically a Tequila Negroni with that split base of sweet and dry vermouth, he knew it would be better with a bit more tequila and a dash of bitters. So he did and added the recipe to his 1991 book, The Bartender's Bible, but he published so many recipes that actually forgot about it. 14 years later, the Rosita was mentioned in an article by Terry Sullivan. Gary was friends with Terry, so he asked him where he found the recipe. The funny thing is, he couldn't remember either. 2 years later, Gary made the drink for some friends, and they asked about the origins as well. Gary asked Terry again, and this time he remembered. It was from the Bartender's Bible. Gary had to check, and sure enough, there it was. You can read Gary tell the story in 2007 article, linked below. But I figured, if Gary can change the perfect Rosita, so can we. I'll tell you about a few ideas I had as we make the cocktails. First, we already have the Rosita cocktail and the Rosa tequila, so let's go all out on the rosé theme. The key process for Rosa tequila is resting Blanco tequila in red wine barrels. This one was rested in uncharred French white oak barrels that previously held Cabernet from Napa Valley. That gives it a soft hue, with subtle red fruit and floral notes layered over bright agave. It's softer than many Blancos, with a touch of sweetness and complexity from the wine barrels. A perfect fit for the Rosita. To build on that, I'll also add some rosé wine, a rose garnish, and a spray of rose water over the top. We are going all in. Same as before, it's a stirred cocktail, but this time we are also adding half an ounce or 50 ml of rosé wine to bring in some wine acidity and mineral notes that we can also pick up in the tequila. If you want to make a sbagliato version, just change the wine with rosé prosecco, but add that at the end. Once you have your cocktail strained, it's time for the garnish. Go with a rose petal or other edible flower that didn't come from a flower shop. You don't want any floral preservatives in your cocktail. For the final touch, we'll spray it with some rose water that I poured into this spray bottle. I'll taste them at the end, side by side. So let's check out the Rosita twist number 2. Chocolate. We are running a rum and chocolate series, but chocolate and tequila have always been a natural match as well. The roasted earthy notes of agave pair beautifully with the deep, bitter richness of cacao. You could infuse the tequila or add a liqueur, but we are staying true to Gary's recipe and only substituting out the bitters. Double the amount of dashes from before, so 2 or 4 depending on your dasher bottle. Once the chocolate Rosita is chilled and strained, just garnish it with a thin piece of dark chocolate, sprinkled with some extra salt. And my last thought was, if chocolate works, so should coffee, right? Here the recipe is the same as what we used for the original, but we are just adding in a small twist. 2 lightly crushed coffee beans right into the mixing glass, like the regular stir with an orange peel. These 2 will impart its flavors right into our cocktail. We'll then need to double strain this to keep out any small parts of the beans. For garnish, let's place a single coffee bean on top. Here are the 4 versions: the original Rosita, extra roses, chocolate, and coffee. Sounds almost like a date. Extra roses. So yeah, for sure a lot more floral than the first one. There's much more minerality in it. A bit lower ABV because of the added wine. Quite fresh, quite easy to drink, and I like it. Now let's try the first one again to rebalance my taste, Rosita taste. Okay. Yeah, the first one is, the classic one is much more citrusy, higher ABV, which you can feel it. Also really good cocktail. Let's try the third one, which is a chocolate one. Okay, yeah. In the aroma, right away, I start feeling this dark chocolatey notes. Of course, there's chocolate bar on top, but still much richer in terms of aroma. Also, much richer in terms of taste as well. There is subtle taste of chocolate here because of the chocolate bitters. If I would be making it again, I would add maybe a bar spoon of chocolate liqueur, either white one or dark one. I think that one would elevate it into the chocolate side even more, but I already like it the way it is. And now we're gonna taste the one with the coffee. Cheers. So this one, oh, you already know that, right? And you don't need to know it now again because you saw it already. Just so you know, we started filming at 1 p.m, yeah? And now it's 5 p.m. And we already tried a couple of drinks, so yeah, it's not as easy as it looks in the video. And now the coffee one. Similar as the previous one, the aroma is much richer. Of course, coffee is much more present here. And the taste is even richer than the one with chocolate. Even though I added 2 coffee beans, the coffee is so present here. I would add less coffee because now I think it's going away from the direction of the Rosita. So it's not as fresh anymore, it's not citrusy. It's still a good drink, but to me, I think a bit too much coffee forward.
So just 1 coffee bean?
So yeah, let's make 1 coffee bean. This was fun. The Rosita is a great starting point for experiments, and it proves that classics don't have to stay locked in place. That's what Gaz Regan did when he made his version stand out, and that's what I hope you'll try with any cocktail out there as well. Test the classics, add your twist, and see where it takes you. And remember, a cocktail time pin or a tie improves the chances of success by at least 10%. It's science. Until next time, cheers, friends of cocktails.